First story, we've been married for approximately 16 years, and I've just discovered that she's been unfaithful to me for the past 4 years. Frankly, I wasn't the least bit surprised when I found out through the services of a private investigator. Unbeknownst to me, she'd been engaged in an extramarital relationship with my brother for the entirety of that time. It's interesting, though, I had meticulously planned everything from the outset of our marriage. Our prenuptial agreement contained a clause addressing adultery, which I doubt she remembers. Despite her belief in her cunning and subtlety, I've been attuned to people's true nature since a young age. In my past, I've endured some profoundly traumatic experiences. I've suffered abuse, neglect, and manipulation, which has left me deeply cautious and suspicious not only of my friends and family, but even of my wife. And you know what? I have valid reasons for feeling this way. Honestly, I've never truly placed trust in anyone. I've always been wary of people's intentions, and this situation has only served to reaffirm that belief. As I caught her off guard with divorce papers, she broke down in tears and made a desperate attempt to dissuade me from leaving. She offered to divulge any details about her affair that I wished to know, but I declined. What I want is for both my brother and her to be removed from my life. That's my sole desire. My lifelong approach has been to simply walk away from anyone who has caused me harm. I've even done it with my own parents in the past. She seemed to anticipate a different reaction from me, but I'm not sure why. I've always maintained a stoic mindset for as long as I can recall. Our intimacy was vibrant, and I displayed affection. I'm a successful entrepreneur with a thriving business, and I maintain a regular exercise routine. She could have easily communicated with me. I failed to comprehend why she didn't. 3 years ago, she categorically turned down my proposal when I asked if she would consider polyamory or an open relationship. Hence, I'm uncertain if she's simply selfish or if there's more to her behavior. However, I'm left with several lingering questions. Why did she dismiss the idea of an open relationship? Why do individuals who cheat cry and become aggressive when confronted? Isn't that precisely what they desired? What do cheaters anticipate will occur once they're discovered? Do they expect forgiveness? Given that cheaters rarely alter their behavior, I'm skeptical about the possibility of forgiveness, especially considering what I've observed on the subreddit. When I questioned her, why did she even attempt to gaslight me? All I wanted was for her to sign the paperwork. Her disputing it didn't concern me. I had already made up my mind. Haha. I have proof. Interestingly, I am considering filing a lawsuit against my brother for alienating him. But why does she protect him? He has a wife and children. It's a double-edged sword, too, because I will be exposing him tonight as my small act of retaliation. Why should I have to suffer alone, right? I'll add some more questions later. I need to attend a meeting. I just don't care about the issue, and she's upset with me for it. She's currently accusing me of never having loved her. Well, I did until I discovered the truth. Damn, I'm not sure what's wrong with people these days. Although I've moved beyond anger, that's what everyone expects from me. I simply want individuals like her out of my life. And yes, I believe in seeking revenge and then moving on. It's my way of healing. Please don't judge me for that. I went out for drinks with a few friends to drown my sorrows. To my surprise, when I confided in them about what my wife had done, they didn't even appear shocked. Despite the continual negative comments my friends made about her, I always defended my wife because of my love for her. As it turns out, I was blinded to the warning signs due to my overly optimistic view. When I got back home, slightly intoxicated, I finally voiced my true feelings. I accused her of being a gold digger, of tarnishing my reputation in front of my loved ones, and of merely using me for my wealth. I couldn't wait for her to exit my life. And you know what her response was? She cautioned me against suing my brother. Seriously, what on earth is going on? Despite enduring the agony of a wounded heart and facing the sting of betrayal twice over, she remained incapable of mustering an ounce of remorse or offering any semblance of truth. I had previously offered her the option of an open relationship due to my frequent absences for work, dedicating myself to providing for my family, and this is the recompense I received. But it doesn't end there. The plot thickens as I found myself in a heated confrontation with my brother over the matter. And in the presence of our parents, his wife, and their children, I brought his deceit to light. His 17-year-old child erupted in anger, nearly engaging in physical combat with his own father. His wife wept, as did my soon-to-be ex-wife, while our parents maintained a disturbing silence throughout the ordeal. Once the dust settled, my brother confessed that our parents had been aware of the affair all along. To add insult to injury, they had the audacity to justify their silence, claiming it was none of our business. At that moment, despair clouded my thoughts, contemplating the idea of surrendering to life's challenges. Meanwhile, my brother persisted in his cruel taunts, hurling accusations of infidelity and unspeakable acts allegedly committed in my bed. I promptly informed him of my intention to take legal action against both him and my wife. Whether I emerge victorious remains uncertain, but my primary goal is simply to provoke them. Now, when I interact with my parents, I make it abundantly clear that their behavior is reprehensible, and I harbor no desire to ever lay eyes on them again. I am utterly done with all of them. In past instances of distress, they sided with those who caused me harm. They unequivocally supported my brother, and now, what? I'm utterly defeated. They have emerged triumphant. To those who believed I deserved to endure betrayal due to my trust issues, this is precisely why I will never place my trust in anyone again. Despite my efforts in therapy, extensive reading, and diligent work, it all seems to have led me back to square one. At this juncture, I'd rather face solitude than remain amidst individuals like them. I toiled tirelessly to provide for my family and support my parents, even going so far as to fund my brother's college education after relocating from a poverty-stricken nation to the United States. Is this the extent of their appreciation? It's beyond belief that I invested over $6 million in EB-5 visas for their benefit. I acknowledge that this is not a therapeutic setting, and I offer my apologies for the outbursts of profanity and anger. Initially, I believed myself to be composed, but as the truth emerged, I found myself utterly dismayed. A second story, during my late teens and early 20s, I was romantically involved with a young woman for approximately a year and a half, if not longer. She was employed at a retail clothing outlet within the mall, and on one particular Friday afternoon, I dropped her off at her workplace. However, an intriguing incident unfolded. Upon entering the store, she swiftly emerged, tears streaming down her face, uttering the words, "I just wanted to see you again and say goodbye." I found this behavior rather perplexing, but with her obligation to return to work, we lacked the opportunity to delve into the matter further. She mentioned she was embarking on a weekend trip with a friend, presumably to Disney or a similar destination, so I simply instructed her to reach out upon arrival. This transpired in 1997, a time before the ubiquity of cell phones. That night, I attempted to page her, but alas, my calls went unanswered. With no alternative means of communication at my disposal, I surmised they were perhaps at a location devoid of payphones, like a park. Fast forward to Saturday morning, around 10 or 11 a.m., as I sat within the confines of my parents' abode, the phone suddenly rang. It was my mother's closest confidant requesting a conversation, a request that left me feeling rather unsettled. She then inquires, "Doesn't your girlfriend drive a red Nissan Sentra with those particular stickers on the back?" I confirm that she did, and then she delivers the bombshell. "Well, I don't know what's going on, but I saw her pull up to my next-door neighbor's home yesterday and leave with some guy in a vehicle. They appeared quite close." My heart fell at that point because everything seemed to make sense. I inquired about her neighbor's youngster, and it turned out to be her 5-year-old ex-boyfriend who had joined the Navy. She had very slim odds of coincidentally standing next to my mom's best friend, but as they say, it's a small world. I persistently paged her multiple times, even resorting to marking my messages as emergencies, yet I received no response. Needless to say, Saturday night was one filled with restless tossing and turning for me. At long last, on Sunday afternoon at precisely 2 p.m., she makes the call. She expresses curiosity about the earlier situation, and I feign ignorance, diverting the conversation to inquire about her recent trip to Disney. Initially, she adopts a facade of normalcy, but upon my probing regarding my mother's best friend's sighting of her with another individual, she becomes overwhelmed with remorse, offering profuse apologies and admitting to her transgressions. That marked the culmination of our conversation, although the exact sequence of events eludes my memory. The betrayal caught me entirely off guard, as I had sincerely regarded her as the epitome of my romantic aspirations. The severity of this lie was especially shocking given the deep bond we shared. Over time, it came to light that she had been involved with another individual while her former partner served in the Navy, a fact of which I was entirely oblivious. Throughout our year and a half together, she maintained correspondence with him, and upon his return, they rekindled their relationship. Nonetheless, she re-entered my life 6 months later, and for another 5 years we kept breaking up and getting back together in our relationship. As far as I'm aware, she didn't cheat on me again, but there's always a chance I might not have known everything. The final year we were together was dreadful. There was hardly any closeness between us. I must confess, I was vulnerable during that time, and I couldn't let go of how things were in the initial year. She bore a striking resemblance to Kate Winslet, particularly during the peak of Titanic craze. We were frequently stopped by people asking for her autograph. I lost count of how many times it happened. I swear, they could have been twins separated at birth. It occurred at least once a week, and even more frequently when we were out partying downtown. The second instance of betrayal happened with another girl I had been dating for about a year. Unbeknownst to me, she had cheated on her partner to be with me while we were living together. During that period, I had lost my job, and truth be told, I had hit a low point in my life. However, despite my shortcomings, I continued to treat her with the utmost respect and care, even though I made some regrettable decisions. Despite everything, I began sensing that things weren't adding up, prompting me to install a keylogger on the computer. This allowed me to gain entry into her email account, where I stumbled upon exchanges with her best friend, lamenting, "It's frustrating and I've developed feelings for someone at work, but I'm constrained by this irritating boyfriend." Witnessing the person I cared for discussing how I stood in the way of potential infidelity was disheartening. When I discovered she had engaged in kissing with someone else, even if it was just once, I promptly terminated the relationship. To compound matters, the subsequent 3 to 4 months were arduous as we continued to reside under the same roof. It was a challenging period. It was undeniably a taxing period, filled with emotional strain. Reflecting on this experience, it reaffirmed the age-old adage: if a woman strays from her partner to be with you, the likelihood of her betraying your trust is significant. Regrettably, I had been unaware of the infidelity of my partner to our relationships before. Forward to the present, I find solace in my current state of contentment. I have been joyfully married for 9 years, blessed with 2 remarkable children, and share my life with a woman who exceeds my past loves in every conceivable aspect. Despite this, I can't help but harbor a sliver of doubt, hoping fervently that she never betrayed another's trust to be with me. Third story, I am a 25-year-old woman in a relationship with my fiance, Asher, who is 29 years old. Our relationship has spanned nearly 7 years, and we became engaged approximately 6 months ago. Throughout my entire adulthood, we have been together, and although he's not flawless, he has consistently cherished me and treated me with profound affection, almost akin to idolization. Our bond has been evident, as others have remarked on his love for me. I have never questioned Asher's dedication. During challenging times before our engagement, I grappled with mental health issues that impacted our relationship. It was him helping me pull through after 2 years of therapy, even when I was at my lowest. He has always been my biggest cheerleader, even during the toughest times we faced together, which included milestones like graduations and moments of grief and loss. He's been an incredible source of support. Yesterday, on Thursday, I received a message from a woman named Jay, who claimed she met Asher on Tinder and went on 4 dates with him over the past 2 weeks before realizing he wasn't single. Initially, I almost brushed off the message because I was so certain it couldn't be true. I couldn't imagine Asher being unfaithful. He has experienced betrayal in the past, although not from me, and he holds intimacy in even higher regard than I do. On numerous occasions, he has expressed his contentment with our exclusive bond, but there was a time when he deceived me about a particular incident, claiming it involved only me. However, years later, I found out that he had engaged in the same behavior with another woman. He justified it by saying he assumed I was already aware, but I considered it to be a thing of the past, believing he was committed to me at that point. Furthermore, he has always behaved in a way that makes me trust him completely, and I've never even thought he might be interested in someone else. Despite my repeated assurances that I trust him completely and don't have any issues with the different gender of his friends, he chooses not to have many female friends out of respect for me. Jay's messages included texts from a contact saved under a childhood nickname of Asher. According to her, Asher mentioned he was interested in a casual relationship and shared memes with her. He also sent her romantic texts, one with a unique typo that Asher's phone sometimes makes. Additionally, he sent her a photo of them together at a restaurant, sharing a dessert, which she said was taken by a server. Furthermore, she sent me a voicemail from Asher, where he mentioned uninstalling the app, although he didn't specify which app, but it was most likely Tinder. Afterwards, I reached out to Jay, and she mentioned that while they hadn't been physically intimate, they had been on 4 dates, and she felt it was important for me to be aware of this. Upon receiving the messages, I immediately called Asher and questioned him about whether he was involved with any other women. Frankly, I couldn't fathom that it could be true, so I didn't hold back my concerns. Asher appeared taken aback and denied the accusations, but I was deeply unsettled and insisted that he come over so I could examine his phone. Given our long-standing trust, we've always shared our passwords, so I never felt the urge to snoop. Without hesitation, he came over and handed me his phone. Upon examining it, I found no messages or calls between Asher's and Jay's numbers. He could have easily deleted them, but I noticed that the same memes from Jay's pictures were also present in Asher's camera roll. When I questioned Asher about the photo featuring the woman, he explained that Jay was the wife of a potential client. According to Asher, the husband took the picture, and he was annoyed because the husband was late for the meeting and only joined them for dessert. He was puzzled by their request for a photo during a business meeting. He couldn't clarify the voicemail and admitted that the evidence looked really bad. A couple of things are puzzling me. Weeks ago, before Jay contacted me, Asher mentioned he was meeting with a couple interested in becoming his clients. He had told me about these meetings beforehand and expressed frustration the first time when the husband arrived late and joined them for dessert. He mentioned feeling uneasy sitting with another woman because he wanted to be with me. I didn't pay much attention to it and assured him of my trust and appreciation for his efforts. Additionally, he revisited the husband's absence from the lunch meeting on Monday night, expressing frustration over the client's seeming lack of interest. Nonetheless, he completely dismissed Jay's allegations of 2 additional meetings, despite having already acknowledged those 2. My family and I carefully examined all the information Jay provided me with because I found it hard to believe, and they were equally puzzled. Even my father, who had previously been confident that Asher would be the last person he knew to do something like this, was surprised. Asher sat there, trying to make sense of all the pieces of the puzzle, with my parents by our side. We were all hoping for another explanation. Asher clarified that, contrary to Jay's claim, the photo of him and Jay was not taken by the waiter. Instead, it was taken last Thursday by Jay's husband. He admitted that he couldn't remember everything that had happened, but he assured us of his love for me and my family, underlining that he would never violate my confidence. Although he was surprised by the suspicion, he recognized our mistrust. None of us could believe it. We had never dreamed Asher could do such a thing. As a result, my family continued to press him to deny each piece of evidence separately, even suggesting that Jay's text may be part of a fraud. Asher insisted that he only had face-to-face interactions with Jay, and that her husband had set up both of their encounters via texting. He mentioned the possibility of sending some memes to Jay's husband, but he insisted that he didn't send any directly to Jay herself. Furthermore, he clarified that the photo of them enjoying dessert was taken by Jay's husband, who had joined them towards the end of their initial meeting. To support his claim that he had never downloaded the Tinder app, despite previously stating he hadn't used it before we met, he pointed out that the App Store only showed the option to install, not reinstall. He maintained that it could have been a mere coincidence that he used his childhood nickname or mentioned it casually in conversation. He clarified that he had just ordered a small ice cream for himself, while Jay had ordered the large dessert to share with her husband. We all paid close attention to Asher's explanations, and even though the evidence was convincing, it was hard to accept because it was such a shock. After my dad forwarded the message to a friend who is good with technology, they examined it and found no evidence of tampering. Upon investigating Jay's credibility, we found some discrepancies, but they weren't impossible to explain. This morning, my dad took a chance and drove 4 hours to the restaurant to request access to the surveillance footage. We hoped the footage would prove that Jay's husband had actually taken the photo of Jay and Asher. The restaurant's camera footage depicted Asher and Jay entering together, Asher eating the dessert despite claiming he ordered his own, and a waiter stopping to take their picture with it. Asher had mentioned that Jay's husband would join them at the end of the meeting, but the video showed Jay and Asher leaving together. Asher's behavior is so out of character that I'm struggling to make sense of any of this. He insists that he didn't go on a date with Jay, that they didn't meet on Tinder, and that he simply forgot to cancel his ice cream order and opted to eat Jay's dessert instead. He admitted to fabricating the story about Jay's non-existent spouse under pressure from my family, but he firmly believes he would never betray me. He emphasized his deep-seated hatred for cheaters, which he has always maintained. He has shed tears and repeated the affectionate words he expresses to me daily, reassuring me that I am the sole object of his love, that he envisions spending the rest of his life by my side, that our closeness brings him immense satisfaction, and that all he desires is my happiness. While I want to believe he loves me, perhaps I'm deceiving myself. If only he would confess, we could work through this. But he adamantly refused, stating, "I can't admit to something I know I didn't do." I informed him that although I still saw a future with him, I was having trouble believing him when he said they would be having meetings for business. Honestly, I'm struggling to come to terms with the reality of what happened, and I still can't fully grasp it. The person I know wouldn't behave in this manner, so a part of me still believes there must be some sort of misunderstanding. I couldn't imagine my life without Asher, and I had complete trust in him. I've never shared such a deep physical and emotional connection with anyone else. He's not just my partner, but also my dearest friend. Despite the circumstances, he remains the same loyal, caring, and compassionate man I've known all these years. I shared with him how deeply lonely it feels to depend on the one who caused me such pain for support. I explained the isolating nature of seeking solace from him in this situation. He confessed to feeling the same way and expressed disbelief at our shared experience. At present, I've opted to maintain our relationship. I informed Asher of my knowledge of his infidelity. Yet, in the absence of solid evidence, I've decided to trust him and sincerely hope I never learned of this betrayal. He disagreed vehemently, asserting that cheating cannot be classified as a mere mistake, and he maintains adamantly that he did not engage in infidelity. I attempted to convey to him that everyone makes errors and that acknowledging them is part of growth. Considering our extensive history together, I am inclined to focus on repairing our bond. When I broached the topic of an open relationship, he firmly declined, affirming his commitment to our exclusivity. He assured me that had he cheated, he would have confessed, and he remains hopeful that I will come to trust him again in the future. We mutually agreed to postpone our wedding plans for a few weeks, to concentrate on restoring our relationship. After the many years of companionship we've shared, I am not prepared to let go just yet. While I am grateful for Jay's solidarity, a part of me wishes she had kept me in the dark about what transpired. I genuinely hope Jay finds happiness in her future endeavors. Asher's persistent denial perplexes me to the point where I wish I could compel him to confess, especially considering how unaware I was of the situation before. Asher's embrace has always provided me with a sense of security, and I long to discover another source of comfort that can match the warmth and reassurance I feel in his arms. I wish I could pretend that none of this ever happened, or that Asher would open up to me about why he feels I'm inadequate. I wish I could believe that being smarter, prettier, slimmer, or more socially adept would guarantee me love without having to start anew. Being neurotypical, I often feel lost and overwhelmed in various situations, and Asher used to be my anchor until this ordeal unfolded. I wish I had a clearer grasp of reality in general. Above all, I wish Asher had never betrayed my trust, or that I could turn back time and ignore Jay's warning altogether.